Hi, my name's Elliot Grove from the Raindance Film Festival here in London. You've just seen a trailer that we do for the film festival. Every year we do a trailer to promote the festival that goes out throughout cinemas in the UK and online. Each year we give out two awards for short films. One gets £1,000 to make the trailer, one of which you've just seen. That one came from Australia. And the second prize that we give out is your short film, if it's good enough and wins a special prize at the festival, gets automatically onto the shortlist for this year's Oscar ceremony in Los Angeles. And every year we're lucky we get one or two on that list. But so far, none of the Academy members have deemed one of the Raindance shorts to be of sufficient quality to win that Oscar. Anyway, my name again, Elliot Grove of the Raindance Film Festival. I know nothing about filmmaking, and I'm delighted to be speaking to the Farmers on Film Festival because I grew up on a farm. A little farm, mixed general dairy farm, about 40 miles outside of Toronto back in the day when that was the country and not covered with urban sprawl as it is now. What makes my background even more unusual from a filmmaking point of view is that I don't know anything about filmmaking. My parents were members of a rather unusual Protestant sect called Amish, the horse and buggy people. Maybe you've heard of them. And I was always told never to do two things as a young man on pain of excommunication. Number one, never ever go to the movie theater because the devil lives there. And here I am today with you promoting the devil's work. And the second thing I was told never ever to do on pain of excommunication was to have sex standing up. Do you know why? It could lead to dancing, and that was forbidden. Anyway, one day when I was 16, I was sent into town to deliver a part to the blacksmith. My dad couldn't fix it. I found out it was going to take 3 hours for the blacksmith to do the repair, and it wasn't really worth me going all the way back home and coming back into town. And there I am, hot summer's day, 16 years old. I have a few coins in my pocket, and I'm pacing up and down this high street of this little village called Markham outside Toronto, wondering what the devil looked like. And lo and behold, 3 doors down from the house of the Lord was the house of the devil. And I went up and I found out that in those days it only cost 99 cents to see what the devil looked like. So I walked up, I paid my money, and I went in. There was this huge room, a bit like church, you know, with the chairs all lined up. And I sat down, and remember, I had no idea what a movie was. And then they turned the flippin' lights off. The curtains opened, and the first movie I saw was not until I was 16, and it was called Lassie Comes Home. And I cried like a baby, and at the end I rushed up to see if I could feel on the screen the texture of the bark or the fur, and it was all gone in a twinkling of an eye. I then did all kinds of other things in Toronto, and then when I moved back here in the mid-1980s, I should say, I worked for a while as a stagehand at the BBC. I worked on such shows as Doctor Who and Monty Python, The Old Grey Whistle Test, and then I also painted sets. I worked on lots of sets back home in Canada and in America. Most of the movies that I worked on as a scenic artist, painting the sets, are movies I hope you never see. In fact, if you are trolling the internet and stumbling across a movie on imdb.com or Amazon, and you see a film with one of the following words in the title, it's probably a film I worked on. If you see a film with the words slime, gore, or massacre in the title, I probably worked on it as a scenic artist. These were totally dreadful films. 2 films I worked on that I am quite proud of. Number 1, I worked on Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I was one of about 40-odd painters down in Tennessee, working on that for a few months. And then in Toronto, a film called Equus, based on the stage play by Peter Shaffer, shot in the Kleinberg Studios in the countryside just outside Toronto. It was me that turned the white walls into period barnwood stabling, using the decorative paint techniques I'd learned. I'd gone to art school when I graduated high school back in Toronto. Anyway, throughout all of my experience, and then through starting Raindance, I've found out that if you really want to make a movie, like farming, there's nothing really that's difficult. It's just plain, straight, hard work. And when I started the Rain Dance Film Festival back in the early 90s, 1992, in fact, the formal day that I started was the Saturday before the last general election that John Major won, way back in April 5th, 1992. I started Rain Dance as a thought experiment. Can you make a movie without any experience, without any money? Can you do that? Well, I found out that you can. Do you need training? No. And as I started Rain Dance, to promote that kind of gung-ho, if you like, farmer mentality of making it not with what you want to have, but with what you've actually got. The intern, my first intern who helped me back in those days, was a young 17-year-old at the time, bright as a bunny guy, also came from the country. His name was Edgar Wright, and he was helping me carry the boxes up and down the stairs for these events that we're organizing. He's done rather well. You may know him from his first film, Shaun of the Dead. And a couple of years later, I met a 17-year-old, another 17-year-old, at that time studying university English at UCL here in London. And when he was 16, he had told his parents that what he really wanted to do was become a filmmaker. And they said, "What do you want to do that for?" And so the little saw-off, the little deal he did with mom and dad was he would get a university degree in case the filmmaking didn't work out. He joined the Film Society at the university because they had free equipment, and he started making short films while he was still at university, using the free equipment from the Film Society. They had a cupboard with some basic stuff. He graduated that year and then got a job part-time job stacking shelves at the local Boots chemist in Piccadilly. That's still there. And he would come to me on a Friday with all the free equipment he'd borrowed from the Film Society. I'd give him a key to my office. He'd store it in my office, and he would shoot Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. Monday morning, I'd meet him. He'd give me back the key, and he'd take the equipment back to the Film Society cupboard, and then he'd go back to Boots stacking shelves. And he did that for 9 whole months and made a film called The Following. Total budget of that, feature film budget, about 6,000 quid. This would have been 95, I guess. And then he remade it 2 years later as Memento. I'm talking about Christopher Nolan. Someone else, self-taught, no money, no experience, making it as a filmmaker. Now, at Rain Dance, we do 3 core things. First of all, we're very innovative. We're innovative in 2 ways. We have a Class A film training program, both open classes, many of which you can join online from the comfort of your dairy or stable or home. We also have a film festival, Europe's largest independent film festival, one that's grown and grown over the years till now Variety magazine, one of the biggest trade papers in the world, equivalent I guess to Farmers Weekly, except for filmmakers, calls Rain Dance one of the top 50 must-attend film festivals in the whole world. And we're very proud of that because there's over 5,000 film festivals around the world. And if you want to research these more, look at a website called filmfestivals.com. Quite logical, and you'll find all the film festivals around the world. So we're very innovative in that regard. We're also integrated, where we take the old and the new and put them together. The old, if you like, filmmaking technologies. Not many people shoot on film anymore. They use cameras just like this. And how do you blend that in with the new advances in things like distribution? Many films are seen now only on the internet. And how do you integrate your business plan and the fact that you need to earn money with your films to return to your investors, plus using this new distribution technology called the World Wide Web? And that has really changed, both good and bad. On one hand, that's bad, is it's very difficult to compete with all the big boys. What's good is you make something and you can shove it right out to the audience without going through the middleman, a bit like selling stuff from the end of the lane on the farm, as my mom and dad used to do when I was a kid growing up back in Canada. We're also very inspiring, because the difference between Rain Dance and just about everywhere else in the world is other places tell you how you cannot do stuff. They'll tell you how you need to get this degree and get this money and join the film organization and on and on. And then if you're lucky, then you'll be able to make it. We don't believe in that. We believe that you can make a movie. Long or short, documentary or narrative. What you guys are doing with your hands and your machines, creating the breadbasket of Britain and Europe is simply astounding. And there'll be so many stories that you will want to tell. And you may want to tell them as a narrative fiction or as a documentary or by utilizing the power of the internet. How about a weekly web series, if you like a soap opera, true life stories or made up stories from your life on the farm, or either the tribulations or the challenges or the injustices or the good things that happen. Why not? Let's do stuff like that. In closing, I want to tell you two stories that sort of explain how we work at Raindance and how I think about life and filmmaking. Well, if you look at your history books, you will find a story about a guy 5,000 years ago in Persia, in the middle of nowhere, who one day told his friends and family that what he really wanted to do was to build a boat, make a film. And all his friends and relatives said, "Why do you want to do that? You know, you've never done it before. You don't know how to do it." And they said, "We live hundreds of miles from the sea. Why would you want a boat?" And he said, "No, I want to make a boat, make a film." And he did. With his own hands. He just figured it out. And do you know how I know that boat floated? You and I are both here today. Noah and the Ark. It worked. And he did that with his own resources. My second story is that 112 years ago here in London, a guy with a suit said, "I want to build a boat, a big boat, make a film." And he went around the city of London and he raised tons and tons of money. And he took all that money and he went up to Belfast and he had the best maritime engineers and technicians that money could buy. And he built the biggest, bestest ever passenger liner in the history of maritime navigation, the Titanic. And I simply ask you, which boat do you think you want to float? Because I want you to make films. I want to stay dry, so to speak, and see your stories. Just do it. My name's Elliot Grove of the Raindance Film Festival. Our website is raindance.org. Let's meet up again soon.